there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another car video. Why men shouldn't really take the hypergamy movement seriously. Seriously, because and this was inspired by one of my uh, more faithful supporters, Busy Ran, and he had a great comment on the podcast I put out today about men getting women in their social group, and he had made a statement. He had called the level up movements laughable, and I was like, yeah, I even pinned a comment. And just check out the podcast I did today. Check out the pinned comment, and and just real quick, yeah, I'm doing something based off of that, but I've been getting a lot of people hitting me up to with requests and stuff. First of all, I don't really do requests or even think about it unless you got money attached. Now, if you say something profound in a comment and I like it, I'll just do it. But that's because it was a profound comment. But I'm real funny about people asking me to do anything or saying do this or something like that, especially since a lot of the requests tend to be stuff that I don't normally talk about. If somebody else talk about it, that's them. I'm sovereign. I talk about what I want to talk about. Whoever listened to it, I don't play to the audience. I talk about what I want to talk about. This channel is for the wolves, so I don't do stuff for popularity. Now, anyway, back to it about that level up thing being a joke, because the brother said something very profound. He said only way these women could really level up is if they're in the same class as the men they trying to level up to. And let's be real with this level up thing. It don't got shit to do with money. Well, solely money. Let's put it like that. Money plays a part of it, but these women, they looking for masters of the universe. They ain't looking, because they ain't just looking for the money. They looking for the status. They looking for the lifestyle. Now, I've always said money and status does matter. The only thing I've said is you can beat it with sex. You can beat it with sex appeal, and I will stick with that. But if you just got money and status, yeah, you'll get some attention and stuff. But, like I always say, take it with a grain of salt. Because one issue with it is, if a woman go for you for money, she can roll from you for a man who got more money. Only thing with sex, you put it on her, well, she'll stay around a while. So anyway, though, see, one thing these women, they certainly looking for a certain lifestyle and everything. If they looking for certain cars, and they want to be what they think rich people or rich women have. And let's be real, they looking for the most part, they looking for professional types. They looking for professional types. They looking for male 92s and above. They looking for masters of the universe, white collar type of guys. Because let's be real, if they were looking just for money, there's plenty of blue collar guys that make high amounts. You got truck drivers that make six figures. You got master plumbers who make six figures. You got men who own lawn care services who make six figures. I mean, they make it personally. And the women act like they don't see them. They don't want to deal with blue collar brothers. And even though I use the term brother, that's just across all races. They don't want to. Nah. They want that bougie type of guy and stuff. That suit and tie type of guy and stuff. And halfway ain't even about him just personally, but they want to live that life. And I'm gonna tell you what, most of them, it won't happen for most of them, because they want it. But the thing that I noticed on a lot of these hypergamy or hot level up channels, they have no understanding about like men at that level. They had zero understanding. In fact, I'm gonna say zero understanding of men at that level. Because here's a reality. And I've talked about this before, but let me get even deeper now. First of all, when you talk about social class and stuff like that, is more than just money. It's a behavior. It's the things that you do, places you go. It's the outlook you have on the world. And each social class is a subculture unto itself. And then even within, you got several subcultures. But the main thing is the level of behavior. And ultimately, even though you do have occasions where a man at that level will dip down to a lower level, usually it's a situation where the man came from that lower level and he's just used to women at that level. So that's why he'll do it. That's why you'll see like these, like especially with like athletes and entertainers, people will say, why they messing with that thought? Why they doing that? That's where they grew up at. That's where they grew up at. But when they come from a higher background, they get women from their background. Because, you know, the imprint on a man was usually from like those more upper class men was usually an upper class woman. And that's usually who they've been around and everything. So that's what they're used to. That's what they're used to. I want to share something about myself. I know that from personal experience. Now, I've talked a lot about dealing with, I've talked a lot about being, you know, spending the early part of my life in Southeast DC. And then, you know, when I moved with my grandmother, we were living in North Michigan Park in DC. And I'm not sure how it is now because of gentrification and everything, but, you know, Anacostia was definitely rough. North Michigan Park, it had a combination of working class and young professionals. Combination. You know, especially like a lot of young professionals like starting out with their first house and stuff. So it was an interesting area. So that was, yeah, you had the street stuff as a base because a lot of people's personality and behavior is actually formed in the first 10 years of life. So you had that as a base, but then over that was a better class of people. And then high school, that was a private high school, and, you know, we'd go to parties and stuff with better type of women. And, you know, personally, type of women that I click with the best, the type of women I click with the best are college educated women. And if I limit it just to the women I've dealt with in the black community, because I ain't gonna lie, I've dealt with women of other races and cultures, particularly Asian. I've dealt with other type of women. But the most common denominator with all the women, regardless of the race or culture, was their educational backgrounds. Usually women with dual degrees and stuff, upward striving women, you know. And then if I limit it just to the black community, buppy types. Indeed, my ex-wife, now co-parent, is AKA. If you even go on my IG and see the few times I showed myself hooked up with some woman, AKA. And one who wasn't an AKA, if she had played, she would have been an AKA. So it's usually that's who I deal with class-wise. And I was thinking about that because I said, you know, that's why I don't get into like approaching on the street or anything like that. I don't see those type of women on a regular basis. I see plenty of women who are more working class and stuff. And, you know, some of them got a big old booty, but, you know, most I could do with them is a quick hit. But that's just normal. And see, I'm coming from a background where, yeah, I can, but then you get, you know, I can do the levels. I mean, if I'm talking long term, they got to be on that AKA level, or even, you know, more upper class level. If I'm just, you know, long term, like I say, if I want just something quick, whoever I run into got fat ass. But that's me just because of my background. But if you look at a lot of guys who grew up more solid middle class to upper middle class, especially if they like maybe went to private school or high-heeled schools, especially if they went to college, joined certain fraternities, you know, went to graduate school, became a doctor, became an attorney, MBA, stuff like that. High status engineers. They got a different thing, and it's like, even if the guys don't realize it, they're gonna automatically deal with the women in their social class. They're gonna do it even if they want to. Now, like I said, they might. In fact, a lot of them are blatant about what they, even if they don't, like, some don't say anything, but some will say, nah, we ain't gonna mess with that woman. She got too many tattoos. Oh, we ain't gonna mess with that woman. I don't like her speech intonation. Things like that. But see, you get a lot of women from like those more working class, lower middle class and stuff. They want to move up. Now, like I said, that's the most part. Now, you do get a few women who can. Usually women who, they usually gotta be 100 octanes, but they halfway on some acculturated prostitution shit. And they got a shelf life. They got a shelf life. Those are the ones who might end up being like sugar babies or definitely acculturated prostitutes. Very, very, even some of them, very, very, very few of them actually make it to the point they can actually be someone's wife. Seriously, very few of them. And even then, they probably still closer in class. Usually women like that might end up with an athlete or entertainer or something like that. But when you're talking about a professional, somebody who had to, first came from a good solid background and then worked, for a professional degree or something like that, it's totally different. But see, a lot of these women want to move up to that, and I'm like, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen for the majority. And even, like I said, and even then, they would have to be very, very attractive. They have to be very attractive, because at that point, and the man ain't really paying for the personality. You don't need your money. He paying for the image. He paying for the trophy. And he probably, if he's smart, he knows what's up. But then you get some other women, they doing all this stuff thinking they're gonna move up. It's like, no, not with that type of guy. Like I said, the best shot is maybe a blue collar type who might share some stuff with him, actually give a shit about him. But like I said, a lot of these women don't want that. And see, one thing, let me just say overall about social class, it's more than just the money. You can have somebody, because of their backgrounds, not making that much money at that moment you meet them, but they actually more upper class. Like, I knew this guy, was a white guy, and for reasons I ain't gonna get into publicly, he was working on a retail job, basically making a minimum wage. Now, somebody would say, well, yeah, nah, he ain't upper class. Yeah, because of circumstances I'm not going to mention. He was just there temporarily. That dude actually had $1 million trust fund. He showed me the bank statement. I was like, oh, shit. In fact, if this ever, I'll tell you what he doing now, where, this dude got a big old house now because he just moved on up. Like I said, it was temporary. But if I ever, like, just say to myself, I'm tired of talking stuff on my car, I could just call him up. Seriously, I could just call him up. Trust me, he can pay me well. He can start me off 6 figures with what he does. But he was still, even though temporarily he might have looked more lower class, he was actually upper class. Because the one thing with the class thing, it's a culture within itself. It's a total behavior thing. Any degree sociologist will agree with me. In fact, that's why I learned. That's how I learned that. I read some stuff sociologists said. So it's a lot to it. But then you get some women, they got the fantasy that they can move up into that. It's like, no, honey, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. And they don't want the guys that they could probably get. But it's like, but you got some people saying, if you do this and do that, trust me, they'll clown you. In fact, I remember one time I was at this thing back in my former life. Went to this party, And this party had a bunch of attorneys there, right? And I brought a woman who, she wasn't like ratchet, but she was an 87, more working class and stuff. And definitely looked it and everything. Because like I said, I'm more open than average among that class because of my background. But these dudes clown me. I talked about that before. These dudes clown me. Because that's how they are. They're picky like that. They want a certain type of woman. That's all they're going to deal with. And a lot of times women don't understand it simply because they ain't around that type of man. And I'm going to tell you what, that's a big thing. Overall, social class, that's the biggest issue. I always talk about that one book I had, and this was focused on the black community, money issues in black male-female relationships. And the author, George Sabiro, who's now an ancestor, I never forget what he said. I underlined that statement. He said, any conversation about, like I say, specifically black relationships that don't take class into account is a joke. And honestly, that's all relationships. Class makes a big thing. I don't care what race you're in. Like I've known several white men and white women who are upper middle class, and I knew exactly the type of guy they get. In fact, there's a young lady I knew. We still cool on IG, and she was more upper class. And then when she finally settled with a dude, he wasn't no dude who had like that bunch of tats and all of that. That dude looked just as bougie. Well, white bougie. And and that's just a reality out here. Like people really need to talk about it. That's why I talk about it so much. People need to understand. People will generally stay in their lanes. In fact, I should do a video. Maybe I'll do it Wednesday from home, talking about assortative mating, because that's a real thing out here. Because even like when you're trying to deal with women, or women trying to deal with men, that class thing means a lot, even if they don't think about it consciously. Because when you look at, oh wait a minute, where am I going? Go right over here. That means so much. It's very major. It's not something to take for granted. So anyway, though, that's all I have for today. Oops, I'm pulling out right. Hold on. Let me see. I gotta get in the spot right. Talking to y'all. Anyway, nah, honey, you ain't in my social class. This woman was checking me out. But yeah, I'll take one look at her. Yeah. So, yeah. But that's something to take in consideration. We gotta get deeper with it. Too many people looking. They act like they don't say. People don't talk about some of these little nuances, and they ain't even getting into like the metaphysics of everything. But there's a lot of nuances with this. That class thing is major. People need to pay more attention to it. So anyway, y'all, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.